The alarm screamed through Luna Command Station like a wounded animal. Captain Ji-won Kim jumped from her chair, spilling hot coffee across her desk. Red lights flashed on every wall. The sound meant only one thing. Something big had just appeared in their solar system. Report. Juan shouted as she ran toward the main control room. Lieutenant Taeyeon was already at his station, his face pale as he stared at the screens. Captain, you need to see this. Something just dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of our system. Guan looked at the main display screen. Her heart stopped. Thousands of red dots filled the screen like angry stars. Each dot was a ship. Each ship was huge. How many? She asked, her voice quiet now. We count over 10,000 vessels, Captain. The biggest ones are 20 times larger than our best battleships. The control room fell silent. Everyone stared at the screen. In all their years of space travel, humans had never seen anything like this. The fleet was massive. It was clearly not friendly. Admiral Hunwoo Park's voice came through the speakers. All senior officers to the command center. Now, Guan ran through the station's white corridors. Other officers and crew members rushed past her. Their faces showed the same fear she felt. Everyone knew what this meant. Earth was about to be invaded. The command center was already full when Ji-won arrived. Admiral Park stood at the center looking at a huge holographic display of the alien fleet. The ships moved in perfect formation, like a school of deadly fish swimming through space. People, we have a problem, Admiral Park said. His voice was calm, but Ji-won could see worry in his eyes. This is the largest alien fleet we have ever detected. They appeared 30 minutes ago and are moving toward Earth. Dr. Sia Jin-yoon, the station's head scientist, raised his hand. Admiral, what do we know about these ships? The design is unlike anything in our databases. The ships appear to be biological, Park replied. They look grown, not built. Our scans show they are alive in some way. The whole materials pulse like a heartbeat. Communication specialist Soyoung Lee looked up from her station. Admiral, I'm getting something. They're trying to communicate with us. Put it through, Park ordered. The speakers crackled, and a voice filled the room. It was deep and strange, like rocks grinding together. The words were translated by their computers. Primitive creatures of the third planet. I am Fleet Commander Vextel of the Threnari Empire. Your world has been chosen for conquest. You have 72 of your hours to surrender. Submit now, and your death will be quick. Resist, and we will make your species suffer before we destroy you. The message ended. Nobody spoke for a long moment. Well, said Colonel Yoon Ji-han, the station's security chief. They seemed friendly. A few people laughed, but the sound was nervous and scared. Admiral Park studied the display. Soyoung, can you send a reply? Yes, sir. Channel is still open. Good, send this message. Unknown fleet, you are in Terran space without permission. We ask you to leave immediately. This is your only warning. Engineer Min-ho Choi looked shocked. Admiral, with respect, we're telling them to leave. Look at the size of that fleet. We have maybe 300 ships total. They have 10,000. Park smiled, but it was a cold smile. Min-ho, send the message as ordered. Soyoung's fingers moved across her controls. Message sent, Admiral. On the main screen, they could see the alien ships continue moving toward Earth. They moved slowly but steadily, like a great tide of death approaching their world. Ji-won watched the display and noticed something strange. The aliens had scanned Earth and the surrounding space, but their scans were basic, almost lazy. They looked at Earth like a farmer looking at an empty field. They saw what they expected to see, a weak, primitive world with few defenses. But Ji-won knew something the aliens did not. She had worked on Project Lighthouse for 5 years. She knew about the hidden weapons platforms scattered throughout the solar system. She knew about the secret bases built inside asteroids. She knew about the thousands of cloaked ships waiting in the dark between planets. The aliens had made a big mistake. They thought they were attacking a helpless world. They had no idea what humans had been building in secret for the past 50 years. Captain Kim, Admiral Park said, I want you to take a team to monitor Station Alpha. Watch the enemy fleet. Record everything they do. I want to know how they fight before we have to fight them. Yes, sir, Giwan replied. She chose her team quickly. Lieutenant Tyone for sensors, Specialist Do-Yoon Kang for tactical analysis, Dr. Seo-jin for alien studies. As they prepared to leave Luna Command, Ji-won looked back at Admiral Park. The old man was studying displays and talking quietly with his senior officers. She could see him making plans, preparing for what was coming. But there was something else in his expression, something that made Ji-won feel better about their chances. Admiral Park was not scared. He was not worried about the huge alien fleet. Heading toward Earth, he looked like a man who had been waiting for this day for a very long time. He looked like a man who was ready. The transport ship carried Ji-won's team to Monitor Station Alpha, a small outpost hidden in the asteroid belt. From there, they could watch the alien fleet without being detected. Dr. Seo-jin set up his equipment to study the alien ships. These vessels are remarkable, he said. They appear to be grown rather than built. The hulls pulse with biological rhythms, but there's something else. What? Ji-won asked. The way they move, the way they communicate, it's like a hive mind. They think and act as one. Individual creativity might not be their strength. Do-yoon was studying the fleet's formation. Captain, they're moving in a pattern I've seen before. It's in our military history files. They're using the same attack formation they used on other worlds. Other worlds? Ji-won asked. Yes, ma'am. I've been comparing their movement to reports from the Kepler colonies. The survivors described the same formation, the same tactics. These aliens have done this before, many times. Ji-won felt a chill. The aliens were not just invaders. They were experienced conquerors. They had destroyed other civilizations using these same methods. But as she watched the alien fleet move through space like a great dark cloud, Ji-won remembered something important. Those other civilizations had not been human. Those other worlds had not spent 50 years preparing for this exact moment. The aliens thought they were attacking another helpless world. They had no idea they were flying into the most dangerous trap humans had ever built. In 60 hours, they would learn the difference between conquering the unprepared and attacking those who had been waiting and planning for their arrival. The hunt was about to begin. But the aliens did not yet know who was the hunter and who was the prey. Aboard the Threnari flagship, Fleet Commander Vexthal felt something he had not experienced in decades: confusion. He floated in his biotank, connected to the ship's living neural network. The ship's thoughts mixed with his own thoughts, creating the perfect unity that made the Threnari so powerful. But the human response made no sense. Sub-Commander Krelks, Vexel spoke through the ship's communication organs. Show me the human message again. The message appeared in his mind through the neural link. Unknown fleet. You are in Terran space without permission. We ask you to leave immediately. This is your only warning. Krelks' amusement rippled through the ship's nervous system.
Commander.
The primitive apes actually warned us to leave. They have perhaps 300 small ships. We have 10,000 vessels of war. Yet they warn us. Other Threnari officers joined the mental conversation. Their laughter felt like acid flowing through the ship's veins. It must be insane, said War Leader Drexvolume. No species has ever dared to warn the Threnari Empire. We have conquered 17 worlds. We have burned entire civilizations to ash. These humans think they can frighten us with words. Vexthal studied the tactical display in his mind. The human homeworld appeared weak and poorly defended. A few orbital stations, some small patrol ships, nothing more. Looked exactly like all the other worlds they had conquered. Perhaps, Vexthal said slowly, we should show them what happens when they threaten the Threnari Empire. Back on Monitor Station Alpha, Captain Ji-won Kim watched the alien fleet through her instruments. Dr. Seo-jin was recording everything, studying how the biological ships moved and communicated. Captain, Dr. Seo-jin said, looking up from his screens. I've been analyzing their communication patterns, and these aliens have a serious problem with their thinking. What kind of problem? Ji-won asked. They don't understand warnings. In their language and culture, the concept of mercy or a fair warning doesn't exist. To them, showing mercy is the same as showing weakness. They literally cannot understand why. We warned them. Do-yoon Kang looked up from her tactical station. That explains their response, Captain. Look at this. The main screen showed new movement in the alien fleet. Several large ships broke away from the main group and headed directly toward the outer human colonies. Giwan felt her blood turn cold. They're going to attack the mining stations.
Nice.
It gets worse, Dayun continued. Based on their formation, they're not planning to capture those stations. They're planning to destroy them completely. This is their way of showing us what they can do. On Luna Command Station, Admiral Hienwu Park received the same intelligence reports. He stood in the command center, surrounded by his officers, watching. The alien ships moved toward the helpless mining stations. "Sir," said Colonel Yunjihan, "should we evacuate the stations? Yeah, we can get most of the workers out before the aliens arrive." Admiral Park was quiet for a long moment. Everyone in the room waited for his answer. The mining stations held over 50,000 people, men, women, and children who worked in the outer system. "No," Park said finally. "We evacuate no one." The room erupted in shocked voices. "Admiral, those are innocent people," Colonel Han protested. Park raised his hand for silence. "Minho, is Project Lighthouse ready?" Chief Engineer Minho Choi checked his displays. "All systems are operational, Admiral. We can activate at any time." "Good, Soyang. Open a channel to all stations in the outer system." Communications Specialist Soyang Lee's fingers flew over her controls. "Channel open, sir." Admiral Parks. Voice went out to every human station and ship in the solar system. "All personnel, this is Admiral Park. In approximately 6 hours, hostile alien forces will reach the outer mining stations. Do not evacuate. Repeat, do not evacuate. Follow Emergency Protocol 7. Good luck." Colonel Han stared at the Admiral. "Sir, Protocol 7. That hasn't been used since the training exercises 20 years ago." Park smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. "Yunji, those training exercises were not training. They were preparation. For this exact situation, on mining station Tau Seven, Station Manager Wan Ho Young received the Admiral's message. Around him, his crew looked scared and confused. Outside their windows, they could see the alien ships approaching, like a dark storm. "Sir," asked Engineer Myong, "what is Protocol 7? I've never heard of it." Wanho walked to a special console that had been locked and sealed for 20 years. He pressed his palm to the scanner. The console came to life with lights and displays that none of his crew had ever seen before. "Protocol 7, Wanho said, calmly, "is the reason this mining station has been consuming 3 times more power than it should need for the past 15 years. The hidden systems activated throughout the station. What the aliens saw as a simple mining platform was actually something very different. Concealed weapon systems emerged from fake cargo containers. Energy shields that had been hidden for decades powered up to full strength. But the biggest surprise was not the weapons. It was what happened to the helpless mining crews. All across the outer system, similar scenes played out. Mining workers put down their tools and picked up military equipment that had been hidden in supply closets. Station managers revealed themselves to be trained military officers. Civilian transport ships suddenly bristled with concealed weapons. The Threnari had made their first critical error. They assumed that humans, like all the species they had conquered before, kept their military and civilian populations separate. They did not know that every human adult had received military training. They did not know that every civilian installation in human space was also a hidden fortress. Sub-Commander Krelks commanded the Threnari attack force approaching the mining stations. Through his ship's senses, he could see the pathetic human installations ahead. 12 small stations, poorly armed, filled with helpless workers. "Prepare bioplasma weapons," Krelks ordered. "We will destroy these stations quickly, then transmit the recordings to their homeworld. Let them see what defying the Threnari Empire costs." But as his ships moved closer, something strange happened. The mining stations began to change. Sections of their hulls slid away, revealing massive weapon barrels. Energy readings spiked as powerful defensive systems came online. "What is this?" Krelks hissed. "These are mining stations. Our scans showed mining equipment only." His sensor slave's voice trembled as it reported through the neural link.
HFY Commander.
The stations are heavily armed. Energy signatures suggest weapon systems equal to our own battle cruisers. Before Krelks could respond, the first mining station opened fire. The blast lit up space like a small sun. The beam struck Krelks' lead ship and tore through its bioarmor like it was made of paper. The ship died instantly, its biological system shutting down in shocked silence. Impossible, Krelks screamed. These are primitives. Should not have such weapons. More stations opened fire. The space around the mining platforms filled with deadly energy beams and missile swarms. What should have been a simple massacre became a fierce battle, but the biggest shock was still coming, as Krelks' ships fought desperately against the unexpectedly. Powerful stations, his sensors detected new contacts. Ships were approaching from all directions. They appeared to be civilian freighters and passenger transports. But as they came closer, they too began to transform. Cargo bays opened to reveal fighter squadrons. Passenger compartments slid away to show missile launchers. The helpless outer colonies had turned into a military stronghold in minutes. Back on Luna Command, Admiral Park watched the battle reports with satisfaction. How are our mining stations? Performing, Minho? Better than expected, sir? The aliens are taking heavy losses. They seem genuinely shocked that our civilian installations can fight back. Of course they are, Park replied. They've spent centuries conquering species that separate their warriors from their workers. They don't understand that every human is a potential soldier. Dr. Siagen looked up from his analysis station. Admiral, I'm reading massive confusion in their communication patterns. They're trying to understand how we hid so many weapons. Their entire battle plan was based on attacking defenseless targets. Park nodded. Good. Let them be confused. Soyoung, prepare another message to their fleet commander. Yes, sir. Channel ready. Admiral Park's voice went out across space too. The Threnari fleet. Fleet Commander Vexel. You have seen what happens when you ignore a human warning. This was just our mining stations. Imagine what our actual military can do. You still have time to leave? This is your final warning. In his biotank aboard the flagship, Vexel felt something he had never experienced before. Fear. The humans were not supposed to be this strong. They were not supposed to fight this well. But he was Threnari. He was a conqueror of worlds. He would not retreat from mere humans. All ships, he commanded through the neural network. Prepare for full assault on the human homeworld. We will show these creatures what real power means. The great fleet began to move toward Earth, leaving behind the burning wreckage of a dozen Threnari ships. The humans had won the first battle, but Vexel was certain it would be their last victory. He had no idea that the mining stations were the weakest part of humanity's defenses. The real surprises were waiting closer to Earth, hidden in the dark spaces between the planets, patient and ready. Fleet Commander Vexel floated in his biotank, rage flowing through every cell of his body. The ship around him pulsed with his anger, its living walls turning dark red. He had lost over 200 ships attacking what should have been defenseless. Mining stations? Impossible, he whispered to himself. No species has ever hidden weapons like this. Our intelligence was perfect. Our scans showed only civilian installations. Sub-Commander Krelks' voice came through the neural network, full of pain and confusion. Commander, the humans fight like no species we have ever encountered. They do not separate their warriors from their workers. Every installation, every person, they are all prepared for war. War Leader Drexvel's mental voice was filled with fury. Commander, we must destroy their homeworld immediately. Cannot allow this humiliation to continue. The Empire will not forgive weakness. Vexel studied the tactical display in his mind. Earth hung before them like a blue-green jewel, still looking weak and poorly defended. Surely the humans had used all their tricks at the mining stations. Surely their homeworld would be easier to conquer. All ships, Vexel commanded. Full assault formation. We attack the human homeworld now. Show them the true power of the Threnari Empire. The massive alien fleet began to move. 10,000 bioships flowed through space like a living river of death. heading straight for Earth. On Luna Command Station, Admiral Hyun-woo Park watched the enemy fleet approach. Round him, his officers waited tensely for orders. The fate of humanity would be decided in the next few hours. "Admiral," said Captain Ji-won Kim, who had returned from Monitor Station Alpha, "the alien fleet is entering the outer defense zone. Should we activate the hidden platforms?" Park smiled calmly. "Not yet, Kwon. Let them come closer. We want them all inside the kill zone before we spring our trap." Engineer Minho Choi looked up from his control station. "Sir, Project Lighthouse is ready for full activation. All systems are green. We can reveal our true defenses at any time." "Patience," Minho Park replied. "The aliens still think they're attacking a weak world. Let's not spoil the surprise too early." Dr. Seagan-yoon was monitoring the alien communications. "Admiral, they're broadcasting to each other about their victory at the mining stations. They think they learned everything about our capabilities from that battle." "Perfect," Park said. "They have no idea what's really waiting for them." The Thrinari fleet moved deeper into the solar system. Their formation was impressive, a bioswarm that had conquered 17 worlds without major losses. The ships moved like a school of deadly fish, each one connected to the others through their hive mind. But as they passed the orbit of Mars, something strange began to happen. Commander reported sensor slave Yexkul through the neural network. "I am detecting unusual energy readings from empty space. There should be nothing here, but my instruments show. Something Vextal was focused on Earth ahead." "Explain." "I cannot, Commander. The readings appear and disappear. It is as if something is there, but our sensors cannot see it clearly." "Sensor malfunction," Vextal decided. "These primitive humans cannot have technology we cannot detect. Continue the attack." On Luna Command, Captain Ji-won watched the alien fleet move past the first ring of hidden defenses. Thousands of cloaked platforms and disguised asteroid bases remained invisible, waiting for the signal to reveal themselves. "They're passing Checkpoint Alpha," she reported. "Still no sign they've detected our stealth systems." Admiral Park nodded. "Good, Diyun. Are your fighter squadrons ready?" Pilot Diyun Kong spoke from the hangar bay, where she was preparing her ship. "All squadrons are ready, Admiral. Fighters are loaded, and pilots are standing by. We're ready to show these aliens how humans really fight." "Excellent. Soyoung, prepare to send our final message to the alien fleet." Communications specialist Soyoung Lee had been monitoring the alien broadcasts. "Admiral, should I warn them one more time?" "No," Park said quietly. "They had their warnings. They chose not to listen. Now they learn what that choice costs." The Thrinari fleet continued moving toward Earth. They were confident, eager for victory. The humans had surprised them at the mining stations. But surely that was all the fight they had in them. Vextal could see Earth growing larger on his displays. The beautiful blue world would soon burn under Thrinari bioplasma weapons. Another civilization would fall to the Empire's might. "All ships, prepare for planetary bombardment," he commanded. "We will burn their cities first, then hunt down any survivors. Let this be a lesson to any other species that dares to warn the Thrinari Empire." The alien ships began charging their weapons. Bioplasma conduits pulsed with deadly energy. Launch tubes filled with living missiles that would eat through any armor. That was when Admiral Park gave the order that changed everything. He said calmly, "Activate Project Lighthouse. Full revelation." "Yes, sir," Minho replied, his fingers dancing over the controls. Project Lighthouse activating now. Space around Earth transformed in seconds. What had appeared to be empty space suddenly filled with human ships and weapons platforms. Thousands of cloaked vessels dropped their stealth fields and appeared like stars being born. Hidden asteroid bases opened their camouflaged armor to reveal massive weapon arrays. Orbital platforms that had been invisible for decades powered up their shields and cannons. The Thrinari fleet found themselves surrounded. "What is this?" Vextal screamed through the neural network. "Where did all these ships come from?" Sensors, which had shown empty space moments before, now detected over 15,000 human vessels. battle cruisers that matched his own largest ships, carriers launching clouds of fighters, massive orbital fortresses that bristled with weapons. But the real shock was not the number of ships. It was their design. Dr. Siajan's research had paid off perfectly. Every human weapon had been built specifically to fight Threnari bioships. The energy frequencies were tuned to disrupt biological armor. The missiles carried warheads designed to poison living holes. The fighters used tactics that exploited the weaknesses of hive-mind coordination. Impossible. Sub-Commander Krelx's voice was filled with terror. They knew we were coming. They built all of this specifically to fight us. The first wave of human attacks struck the Threnari fleet like a hammer. Dayun Kong led her fighter squadron in a diving attack on the alien command. Her fighters moved in patterns the Threnari had never seen. Chaotic, unpredictable, creative. Where the aliens relied on hive-mind coordination, humans used individual skill and intuition. "This is Falcon Leader Do Yoon," called over the radio. "Beginning attack run on the big ugly ships. Let's show these monsters how humans fight." Fighters screamed through space, dodging bioplasma blasts and living missiles. But they were not just avoiding enemy fire, they were learning from it. Each pilot adapted their tactics in real time, becoming harder to hit with every passing second. The Threnari weapons, designed to fight predictable formations, could not track the wildly maneuvering human fighters. "Target the neural clusters," Dayun ordered. "Dr. Sejun says those are their weak spots." Human missiles, guided by decades of research into Threnari biology, struck exactly where they would do the most damage. Bioships that had seemed invincible began to die as their nervous systems were severed. On the larger scale, Strategic Coordinator Wan Ho Jung was orchestrating the battle from his command ship. He had studied every Threnari battle for the past 20 years. He knew exactly how they would try to respond to this situation. "Or units, execute Formation Delta," he ordered. "Drive them toward Grid 7. Let's herd these animals into the killing ground." The human fleet began a complex dance, using the Threnari's own aggressive instincts against them. When the aliens tried to charge, the humans fell back, drawing them deeper into prepared kill zones. When the aliens tried to retreat, human ships appeared to block their escape routes. It was like watching a master chess player toy with a beginner. Aboard the Threnari flagship, panic spread through the neural network like a virus. For the first time in their history, the Threnari were facing an enemy that had been preparing specifically for them. "They'd know everything about us?" War Leader Drexville's mental voice was breaking with fear. "Our tactics, our weaknesses, our biology, they studied us like laboratory specimens." Vextel watched his mighty fleet being torn apart by an enemy that should not have existed. The humans were not just defending their world, they were hunting his ships with methodical precision. "How long?" he demanded. "How long have they been preparing for this?" Dr. Siajan's voice came over the human communication channels, translated. "By captured Threnari technology, 50 years, Fleet Commander. We have been watching you, learning about you, and preparing for you for 50 years. Every world you conquered, every battle you fought, we were studying, building, waiting." For the first time in his long life, Vextel understood what true fear felt like. The humans had not been hiding because they were weak. They had been hiding because they were patient. They had watched the Threnari Empire grow strong by conquering unprepared worlds, and they had made sure that when the Threnari came to Earth, they would find something completely different. They would find prey that had become the hunter. The space around Earth had become a graveyard of alien ships. Hundreds of Threnari biovessels floated dead in the darkness, their living holes poisoned by human weapons designed specifically to kill them. Fleet. Commander Vextel watched his mighty invasion force being destroyed ship by ship. The neural network that connected his fleet was filled with screams of pain and terror. Ships were dying, and their death cries echoed through every Threnor mind. "Retreat," Vextel finally ordered. "All ships fall back to Rally Point Gamma." When his surviving ships tried to withdraw, they discovered something horrible. The humans had surrounded them completely. Every escape route was blocked by human vessels. Commander, Subcommander. Krelx's voice cracked with panic. We are trapped. Humans have ships everywhere. How did they move so many vessels without us detecting them? Admiral Hunhua Park stood in Luna Command's control center, watching the battle unfold exactly as his planners had predicted. For 50 years, humanity had studied the Threnari. They knew exactly how the aliens would react to every situation. Wanho Park said to Strategic Coordinator Wanho Jun, "Begin Phase 2 of the operation." "Yes, Admiral," Wanho replied. "All units execute Houndpack formation. Let's show these invaders how humans hunt." The human fleet began to move in a pattern the Threnari had never seen before. Instead of fighting in large formations like every other species, the human ships broke into small groups. Each group attacked independently, using different tactics, hitting different targets. It was chaos, but it was controlled chaos. Each human captain made their own decisions, adapted their own strategies, and found their own targets. The Threnari hive mind, which expected predictable group behavior, could not cope with thousands of independent human minds all thinking differently. "This is impossible," War Leader Drexvolum screamed through the neural network. "They fight without coordination. How can they be so effective without central control?" Colonel Yonjihan was leading one of the most dangerous parts of the human attack. Her special forces teams were boarding disabled Threnari ships, fighting the aliens inside their own vessels. "Team Alpha, prepare for breach," Yunji spoke into her helmet radio. Her soldiers wore advanced armor designed specifically for fighting inside bioships. Their weapons fired rounds that would poison the living walls around them. The boarding pod cut through the alien hull like a knife through flesh. The bioship screamed as human soldiers poured into its corridors. Inside the Threnari vessel, everything was alive. The walls pulsed like a heartbeat. The floor felt soft and warm under their boots. Strange organs lined the corridors, pumping fluids that glowed with alien light. "Remember your training," Yanji told her team. "These ships are alive. Every surface can potentially attack us. Stay alert." The Threnari defenders were waiting for them. The aliens were tall and thin, with 4 arms and skin that looked like wet leather. They moved like spiders, crawling along the living walls with disturbing speed. But Colonel Han's team was ready. They'd trained for this exact situation for 20 years. Their weapons fired special bullets that made the bioship's walls sick and weak. Their armor protected them from the acid that the ship tried to spray on them. "Target the neural junction ahead," Yanji ordered. "That's the ship's brain center." The human soldiers fought their way through corridors that tried to crush them, past organs that spat poison, toward the ship's central nervous system. When they reached it, they planted charges designed to sever the connection between the ship and the Threnari fleet's hive mind. When the charges exploded, the bioship went insane. Cut off from the hive mind, it began attacking its own crew. The Threnari aboard started screaming as their ship turned against them. "Extraction successful," Yanji reported. "Bioship neural network severed. The vessel is no longer under enemy control." Similar boarding actions were happening all across the battlefield. Human Special Forces teams struck at the most critical Threnari vessels, turning the aliens' own ships against them. But the most devastating attack was happening on a different level entirely. Communication. Specialist Soyang Li had been working with Dr. Seo Jin-yoon on a special project. They had been studying captured Threnari technology for years, learning how the bioships communicated with each other. Admiral Soyang reported, "We've cracked their neural network code. We can inject false signals into their hive mind."
"Do you?"
Admiral Park ordered. Soyang's fingers flew over her controls. Advanced human computers began sending fake messages through the Threnari neural network. False orders, wrong information, and confusing signals flooded the alien hive mind. Suddenly, Threnari ships began attacking each other. Some received orders to retreat, while others were told to advance. Biovessels collided as they tried to follow contradictory commands. The perfect coordination that made the Threnari so dangerous turned into chaos. "What is happening?" Exthel screamed. His own ship was receiving dozens of different orders, all claiming to come from his command authority. Who was giving these orders? Linky heard something that made his blood freeze. A human voice speaking perfect Threnari, coming through his own command network. "This is Dr. Sejin Yoon of the Terran Defense Force. We have been inside your network for the past hour. Your hive mind is now under human control." The psychological impact was devastating. The Threnari had never faced an enemy that could hack their biological technology. Their greatest strength, the neural network that connected all their ships, had become their greatest weakness. Pilot Daeun Kong was having the time of her life. Her fighter squadron had destroyed over 50 alien ships, and they were just getting started. "Falcon Squadron, target those big command ships," she called over the radio.
"Let's cut the head off this snake." Her fighters dove toward the largest Threnari vessels. These were the ships that controlled the hive mind, the brain.
Centers of the alien fleet. If they could destroy these command ships, the rest of the alien fleet would be lost and confused. But the command ships were heavily defended. Bioplasma cannons filled space with deadly energy. Living missiles chased the human fighters, trying to eat through their armor. Daeun twisted her fighter through a spiral that would have killed most pilots. G-forces pressed her into her seat, but she kept flying. This was what humans did better than any other species. They adapted, they improvised, they survived. "This is for every world you destroyed," she shouted, launching her missiles at the alien command ship. The missiles were not ordinary weapons. They carried a special payload designed by Dr. Sejin, a biological virus that would attack the ship's nervous system. When they hit, the massive bioship began to convulse like a dying animal. All across the battlefield, human fighters were using the same tactics. Individual creativity, constant adaptation, and weapons designed specifically to exploit Threnari. Weaknesses. The aliens had never faced anything like it. Engineer Minho Choi was monitoring the battle from Luna Command. His job was to coordinate the massive logistics operation that kept the human fleet fighting. Ammunition, fuel, repairs, everything had to be managed perfectly. "Admiral," he reported, "we're using supplies faster than expected, but we're well within acceptable limits. The aliens are taking much heavier losses than we predicted." "How much heavier?" Park asked. "We estimated we would destroy 60% of their fleet. At current rates, we'll destroy 90%. Sir, they're not just losing, they're being slaughtered." Admiral Park felt no joy at this news. War was never something to celebrate, but he felt deep satisfaction. Humanity had prepared for this day for 50 years, and the preparation was paying off. "Sir," Captain Juan Kim said, "we're receiving surrender signals from some of the alien ships." "Ignore them," Park replied coldly. "They had their chance to surrender. They were warned to leave. They chose to attack anyway. Now they face the consequences." The battle continued to rage, but the outcome was no longer in doubt. The Threnari fleet was being systematically destroyed by an enemy they had completely underestimated in his biotank. Vextel finally understood the truth. The humans had not been hiding because they were weak. They had been hiding because they were patient. They had watched the Threnari Empire grow strong by conquering unprepared species, and they had made sure that when the Threnari came to Earth, they would find something completely different. They had found a species that turned preparation into an art form, a species that could wait 50 years for revenge, a species that studied their enemies so completely that they could turn the enemies' strengths into weaknesses. For the first time in Threnari history, they had attacked a species that was ready for them, and now they were paying the price for their arrogance. The great Threnari invasion fleet was dying. Of the 10,000 bioships that had entered human space with such confidence, fewer than 800 remained. The rest floated dead in the darkness around Earth, their living hulls poisoned by human weapons, their crews either dead or captured. Fleet Commander Vextel floated in his biotank aboard his damaged flagship. The neural network that had once connected him to thousands of ships now carried only whispers of pain and defeat. His mighty empire's greatest fleet had been destroyed by a species they had dismissed as primitive. "Commander, Sub-Commander, Krelx's voice was barely a whisper through the neural link. "We must retreat. We must escape and warn the Empire about these humans." Vexel tried to give the retreat order, but discovered something terrible. The humans had surrounded the survivors completely. Every direction showed human ships, waiting like patient predators. On Luna Command Station, Admiral Hyun-woo Park watched the final phase of the battle unfold. Alien fleet was broken, scattered, and trapped. Now came the most important part of the entire operation. Soyoung, he said to communications specialist Soyoung Lee, open a channel to the alien. Fleet Commander. Channel open, Admiral. Park's voice went out across space to the dying Threnari fleet. Fleet Commander Vexthel. This is Admiral Park of the Terran Defense Force. Your fleet is defeated. Your ships are surrounded. You have two choices: complete destruction or you. Listen to what we have to say. In his biotank, Vexthel felt something he had never experienced before: complete helplessness. The humans could destroy his remaining ships at any time. But instead of finishing the slaughter, they wanted to talk. What do you want, human? Vexthel replied through his ship's communication organs. Oh, da-da-da-da-da-da. I want you to understand something very important, Admiral Park said. We warned you to leave. We told you this was your only warning. You know why we gave you that warning? Vexthel was silent. He did not understand. We warned you because we knew exactly what we were capable of, Park continued. We have been preparing for your arrival for 50 years. We studied every world you conquered, analyzed every battle you fought. We built our entire defense, specifically to destroy your fleet. The truth hit Vexthel like a physical blow. You, ... You knew we were coming? We knew your empire would eventually reach Earth, Park replied. It was inevitable, so we prepared. We could have attacked your fleet the moment you entered our system. We could have destroyed you all without giving you any chance to surrender. But we chose to warn you instead. Dr. Sejun Yoon's voice joined the conversation. Commander Vexthel, your species has a fatal flaw. You have never learned the difference between mercy and weakness. When we warned you to leave, that was mercy. When you ignored our warning, you discovered our strength. Captain Ji-won Kim was monitoring the surviving alien ships. Most were badly damaged, their crews wounded or dying. A few were trying to repair their engines, hoping to escape. Admiral, she reported, several alien ships are attempting to power up their hyperspace drives. Let them try, Park replied. Won-ho, show them why that won't work. Strategic Coordinator Won-ho Jung activated another hidden system. Throughout the solar system, massive gravity generators came online. These devices created a gravity well that made hyperspace travel impossible. Your ships cannot escape, Admiral, Park told Vexthel. We have trapped you here deliberately. We are not going to kill you. Do you know why? Vexthel could not answer. Nothing about the humans made sense to him. Because, Park continued, we want you to go back to your empire. We want you to tell them what happened here. We want every species in the galaxy to know. What happens when you ignore a human warning? Engineer Min-ho Choi was coordinating the final phase of Project Lighthouse. Human ships began moving into formation around the surviving alien vessels. But they were not attacking. They were escorting. All remaining Threnari ships, Admiral Park announced, you will be escorted to the edge of our solar system. Your damaged vessels will be given basic repairs so you can make the journey home. Your wounded will receive medical treatment. This confused the aliens even more than the fighting had. Vexthel could not understand why the humans would help their enemies. Why? He asked. Why do you show mercy to invaders? Colonel Yoon Ji-han, who had been listening to the conversation, answered, because we are not like you. We do not enjoy killing. We do not conquer other worlds for pleasure. We fight only when we must, and we show mercy when we can. Pilot Daeyoon, Kong added her voice. But do not mistake our mercy for weakness. We could have destroyed every one of your ships. We chose not to. Remember that when you returned to your empire, the human fleet began escorting the surviving Threnari ships toward the edge of the solar system. Along the way, human medical ships provided aid to wounded aliens. Human repair ships fixed damaged engines so the biovessels could make the journey home. It was the strangest military victory in galactic history. The winners were helping the losers escape. As the alien survivors limped toward the edge of human space, Admiral Park opened one final communication channel. Fleet Commander Vexthel, he said, you came here expecting to conquer a weak, primitive world? Instead, you found a species that had been preparing for your arrival for half a century. You ignored our warning because you thought warnings were signs of weakness. Vextel listened in silence. Let me be very clear about something, Park continued. Earth is not the only human world. We have colonies throughout this region of space. Every single one of them has been preparing for threats like your empire. Every human world has weapons and defenses you cannot imagine. The alien commander felt a chill that had nothing to do with his biotank's temperature. More importantly, Dr. Siagen added, we have been watching other species throughout the galaxy. We know about the Zephyrian Republic. We know about the Crystalline Collective. We know about every major civilization within 200 light years of Earth, and we have been sharing our knowledge with them. This was the most terrifying revelation of all. The humans had not been isolated and primitive. They had been building alliances, sharing technology, preparing entire regions of space to resist Threnari expansion. Your empire has been conquering unprepared worlds, Admiral Park said. But now, thanks to human intelligence and preparation, dozens of species know you are coming. They know your tactics. They know your weaknesses. They are ready for you. As the Threnari survivors reached the edge of the solar system, the gravity generators shut down. Their hyperspace drives came back online. You are free to leave, Admiral Park announced. Return to your empire. Tell them what you learned here. Tell them that when humans give a warning, it is not a threat. It is a kindness. Because if we have to warn you a second time, there will be no survivors to carry the message home. Vextel-esque damaged flagship was the last to leave. As his ship prepared to jump to hyperspace, he sent one final message to the humans. I understand. Now, your warning was not weakness. It was ... mercy. Yes, Admiral Park replied. What? Remember that? And remember this. Humanity protects not just Earth, but all species that choose to live in peace. Your empire can continue conquering empty worlds if you wish. But if you attack any of our allies, if you threaten any world under human protection, you will face the same fate you faced here. The Threnari flagship jumped to hyperspace, carrying its broken commander and his terrible knowledge back to the Empire. 6 months later, Admiral Park stood in his office reading intelligence reports from across the galaxy. Captain Jiwon Kim entered with the latest updates. Admiral, she said, we've received confirmation from our deep space monitoring stations. 3 separate Threnari fleets have changed course away from human-protected systems. The word is spreading. What about the Zephyrian Republic? Park asked. If successfully repelled a Threnari attack, using the defensive plans we shared with them. The aliens retreated after losing only 12 ships. They didn't even try to fight seriously. Engineer Minho Choi joined them, carrying a datapad. Sir, we're receiving requests for defensive consultations from 17 different species. Everyone wants to know how to prepare for Threnari attacks. Admiral Park smiled. This was exactly what they had hoped for. The galaxy was learning that the age of easy conquest was over, and the Threnari Empire itself, he asked. Dr. Siagen entered the office with that answer. According to our intelligence sources, Fleet Commander Vextel has been questioned extensively by the Empire's leadership. His report has caused significant concern. Several planned invasions have been cancelled. The Empire is reassessing its expansion strategy. Park nodded with satisfaction. The plan had worked perfectly. Humanity had not sought to destroy the Threnari Empire. It would have been wasteful and cruel. Instead, they had taught the galaxy's greatest predators a simple lesson. Some prey fights back. The lesson was spreading throughout the galaxy. Species that had lived in fear of Threnari conquest were learning that they could prepare, they could resist, and they could win. But most importantly, every species in the galaxy was learning a new rule of interstellar relations. When humans give you a warning, you listen. Because humans don't warn their enemies. They warn everyone else one time, politely, and with complete sincerity. After that, there are no more warnings, only consequences.